Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the Demco Air Force One supplemental braking system for flat towing your vehicle behind your RV. This system's also going to be a second vehicle kit, and essentially what that is it's designed to fit your vehicle if you're in one of three situations. If you decide to get a different braking system and the rest of your car is already set up to flat tow, all you have to do is just get this kit. And another situation would be is if you get a different motorhome and it doesn't have the system on it to control your vehicle via air. If you have a say a stay and play duo or a portable system and you want to use the air from your motorhome to be able to control the brakes on your vehicle, then you can switch over to this kit also. And the last thing would be is if you get a different vehicle and you need to start all over, but your motorhome already has the air system on it. The one that we're working with today has the Spartan chassis, so it will take a different style of air umbilical cord. So with this kit, you don't have to worry about the motorhome side of stuff. The manufacturer took care of that for you. Essentially what this kit is going to do is it's going to take an air signal or the air power from your motorhome, transfer it back into the Air Force One, and then the Air Force One is going to take that air and distribute it properly to the actuator that we have attached to our brake pedal. So instead of the portable system that they used to have in here, pushing on the brake pedal as if it's your foot, this is going to bolt onto the brake pedal. You can't hardly see it, but you bolt it onto the brake pedal, and then when you hit the brakes in your motorhome, the air is all transferred. There is air stored in the Air Force One module itself, and what that'll do is then it'll take a cable and it'll pull your brake. So as you're going down the road, hitting the brakes on your motorhome, it's going to apply that pressure to the brakes on your vehicle in order to properly stop it behind your motorhome. Now, we've installed several of these Air Force One systems in Jeep Grand Cherokees, and we really found that on top of the fuse panel is going to be your best option. A lot of people will put them underneath the driver's seat or in different places, but this is so nice because it's right here. It's readily available. If you ever have a problem with it in the future, which I highly doubt, you can take everything off of here. If the module was the issue, you can pop this off and then put a new one in. You don't have to try to dig it out of an opening or anything like that. The other thing that's nice is if you decide to go ahead and install it yourself, everything is right here. We didn't have to get up under the vehicle for any of this. I did this with the vehicle sitting on the ground. Now, the kit's also going to come with an emergency breakaway kit, which is essentially designed to save your vehicle if the motorhome were to become disconnected from the vehicle. This plunger will be pulled. You'll have two carabiners here, and this umbilical will also come with it. You attach to your motorhome. If they ever split or separate, this plunger will be pulled. The brakes will be applied in your vehicle, bringing it to a slow stop so that it's not just running down the highway. Another component that your kit is going to come with is the vacuum line that you'll have to tie into your factory vacuum line. A lot of vehicles will have an electric assist, so they won't actually have the old style of brake booster, but it comes with all the things that you need to get it connected up, and we'll show you in the installation. But what I like about this kit is that it's right up here next to the brake booster. A lot of the times we have to make that connection. It's down somewhere inside the engine bay, but this one was really, really conveniently located. It makes that step of the process that much easier. Now we're in our driver footwell. This is where the actual the actuator is going to be located. So you can see here, this is what we were talking about earlier. It's going to strap to the brake pedal itself, and then when the brakes are applied in the motorhome, it will pull the brake pedal towards the firewall, applying the brakes in your towed vehicle. Now, another component that this kit is going to come with that the other kit that we have on our website does not is Coach Link. I prefer the Coach Link kit over the traditional style kit. The traditional style kit will come with a little 3 LED strip light that will have to be mounted to the back of your mirror. And essentially what it's designed to do is you have to run the wire along here and then attach it to the wiring down underneath your footwell. And what it's designed to do is if you have a backup camera on the back, when you hit the brakes, you can look in your camera and see that the light is illuminating. Essentially, it's just designed to tell you when the brakes are being applied in your vehicle. So that way, if you have an issue and the brakes are always being applied, even though you're not pushing the brake pedal, you can stop, pull over, make sure that you make the adjustments that you need to, and then get back on the road. It's a good safety net to check, make sure it is hitting the brakes every time you're hitting the brakes and there's not something wrong. But I really like the Coach Link because it's going to be a wireless connection. You'll have a transmitter that you mount underneath the footwell. You can pretty much put it anywhere you want. And it talks to a little box that you will plug into a 12-volt outlet inside your motorhome. And then when you hit the brakes, it sends a signal to that box wirelessly, and it'll tell you whether or not the brakes are being applied. I have installed both. This one is very, very simple to get installed. The 3 LED, you may have to get creative because there's a lot of technology in the reverse mirrors or the backup mirrors now that you really don't have a whole lot of places to put it. Not to mention, you have to run the wire all the way up your A-pillar and through your ceiling in order to get it there in the first place. So I think the Coach Link is a lot easier to install, and I think it's a great accessory. Now that we've gone over the components and showed you where we've got them on our vehicle, let's go ahead and take it in the shop and show you how we got it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to need to find a spot for our operating unit. Now our situation is a little bit different than yours might be. You might be starting out brand new with all the components that you need to install. With our vehicle here, they had a portable braking system and they're upgrading to an Air Force One. So we're just using the second vehicle kit, so we're not going to have the air tank on the motorhome or the air chuck on the motorhome. So we'll start looking for a spot. Usually we like to look at the top of the fuse panel first because it's just about the same size as our operating unit, and then we can use some zip ties in order to tie it off. So we'll go ahead and set that there. You want to test out, make sure you can close your hood. And I think we're going to have enough space. So now that you find out you can close the hood, this is the location that we're going to mount it. I'll go ahead and get it mounted up and then show you how we did it. Now I've got the operating unit all mounted up. What I ended up doing is, because we're hanging off here a little bit, I ended up zip tying it to the lid, which is what we typically will do. But then underneath, I also put some hook and loop fastener. You stick one half to the top of the lid and the other half to the bottom of the Air Force One. You probably wouldn't have to use the zip ties too if you have a good enough hook and loop kit, but that should be more than fine. Our strut here does not make contact with the top of it, so we should be all good to go. Next thing we're going to do is we need to tie into our vacuum line. That is going to be the large port on our operating unit that you'll see. And right up in this little cubby here, you'll see that the little hose says vacuum brake. That's the line we're going to need to tie into. So we're going to take our cutters. We're going to make a cut right about here. If you don't have a set of these cutters, these are really nice because they make a nice clean cut. You can just use a razor blade and cut that. Now what we're going to need is you'll need one of your check valves, a T-fitting, and then cut off about 2 inches of your air line that comes in your kit, or the vacuum line that comes in your kit. We're going to take our check valve. Since this is going to the engine of our vehicle, you want to put the black side towards the engine. Slide that in. You want to get it all the way on so those barbs can bite into the hose itself. Now we'll take our little section, slide it over this, then your T. And the T, we're eventually going to make it face down so that our vacuum line that goes over to our operating unit will go along inside this groove right here. Push that in. As long as you've got it fully over those barbs. As you can see there, you go over all three, should be fine. We'll take our original hose, push it back into the other T. Now we're going to take the remaining section of our vacuum line, connect it to the bottom of that T, and then we'll run it across in this groove right here so that it's protected from the heat of the engine. And then eventually we need to get over to the large fitting on our operating unit. Now we've got our vacuum line run over. We went through the this wall right here. There is an opening right next to some existing wiring. We just snuck the vacuum line through there. Now what we can do is we're just going to connect it up to the operating unit. Again, making sure that you get the barbs seated all the way on. Then you want to make sure this is a nice gentle loop. And then right about here, take it, cut it. We're going to take a hose clamp that comes in your kit, slide it over. We're going to tighten that on the operating unit. And then for another check valve we'll have to put in, you want the black side facing the operating unit. So slide it in. And then reconnect it. Now we'll take a flathead screwdriver and tighten down our hose clamp. Now the next two things we got installed here are going to be our air outlet, our inlet coming from the motorhome. It'll connect right here, and then our breakaway switch. Because we had that old portable system, we did have two holes drilled in the bottom of this chrome panel here. This is going to be an extremely thick plastic, so we just used a couple of self-tappers to get these attached. You just want to be sure that wherever you decide to mount your breakaway switch up to, that it is strong enough to hold perfectly still whenever this plunger is pulled. And ours doesn't even flex this plastic panel at all, so we'll be more than fine once we get everything hooked up. The next thing we need to do is, you'll see here that we're going to have an air line that goes in, and then these wires are going to have to go up and into the engine bay. So I'm going to work on that for a little bit. I'm probably going to use some of this air line. You can use some that comes in your kit. I'm going to drill a small hole here in the bottom and then fish it up into this cavity and then run it out and go up into the engine bay. So now I've got the wiring run from our breakaway switch and our air line up through the bottom of our the front fascia. And if you pop these two tabs off here, you can pull this out a little bit to look down in here, and it is a straight shot to the center of that bumper. So we ran it up through, pulled it out here to get it a little bit closer, and we route it. We're going to route it around. Then we're going to take the air line and run it through here, and we're going to try to come out the other side. Yep, there it is. Run it up, because we're going to need to connect it right here. Run it up here, pull your slack out. That should be plenty there, so we'll go ahead and make a cut. Cut off our excess. This is going to go into the air in, and then we'll have another section that we'll have to run inside the footwell of the driver's side that will come out of the air out. We'll go ahead and cut this length. You want to make sure you got a nice, straight, clean cut on there. If you don't have a pair of airline cutters like this, I do highly recommend picking them up. You can use it for all kinds of things, but especially this, putting a nice straight clean cut on it. You just don't want to kink the end of this. We'll put that into the air in. Push in, and you'll feel it go in a little bit further. That's what you want. A nice, sturdy connection. And we can pull our slack out and then connect it to the inlet. Okay. And we'll take our airline, cut it down here, nice and straight, and then we'll make our connection back behind. So now we ran our breakaway wires up into the area behind our grill, and you're not going to have enough wire to be able to get up to the operating unit. Plus we're going to have another wire that goes to the positive post of the battery. So what we did was we took a piece of duplex wire. We have some wire laying around here. It's just a black and a white wire. So we attached that. We attached the black wire to the black wire in our duplex to not make it confusing, and then we did the orange to the white. So your orange wire, which is now our white wire, you have to connect to the brown wire that comes in your kit. We're going to eventually run that into the cab of our vehicle. And then the other end of the orange, which is now white again, we'll have to go to a fuse connector, which we have right here. And we're eventually going to attach it to this post right here, but we're going to leave it off for now. So we've got those run. The black wire is going to get connected to one of these two. It doesn't matter which one, but we're going to attach it to one of these two, again, in a little bit. Then we started routing our airline tubing. So our airline tubing, you can see it right here. All you have to do is push it down through that grommet. I put a small little slit in it with my razor blade and just push it through, and it'll come out in the passenger side footwell. We've got it taped off right here so that we'll pull the brown wire in when we're pulling our airline to eventually get both of them over to the driver's side footwell. Now that we've got a majority of our airline pulled through our firewall, we can now make our connection to our air out. Again, you'll want a pretty big swoop there. You don't want to have any tight angles. Make this cut. That's not very clean. There we go. Nice straight clean cut. And we'll loop it around and make our connection. You'll push it in, and then it'll go in a little bit further yet. So we got that all routed up. Keep those nice and gentle. If they are too tight of a turn, what'll happen is it'll kink, it'll shut the air off, and you won't be able to utilize your braking system. Now we can make our connections to our two black wires coming out of our operating unit. It does not matter which two goes to, or which one goes to which of these connections, but we're going to need one to connect to our black wire coming from our breakaway switch, and the other one has to go to a factory ground. The nice part is being in this location, your factory ground is right here. So we're going to cut these to length. They're a little bit longer than I'd like, so we're going to cut them to length, make this connection, then put a ring terminal on and attach it right here. Slide our ring terminal on and crimp it down. just take a wrench, pop this loose, unthread it. Should be a stud there, and there sure is. Now we'll take this wire. I'm eventually going to tuck these down under here, so we'll go over top of them. Here's our ring terminal, and then thread our nut back on. Now once you get your airline through the firewall, we just pulled out all of our extra slack out here by the footwell. We're going to take that airline. What I did was I shoved an old piece of airline that I had through this side and then came out the other side. You could probably just take the new airline and just push it through and grab it on the other side. But we're using this one as a fish wire, and we're just going to pull it through. Now the next thing we have to do, once we get our airline and our brown wire pulled over to our driver's side footwell, we'll have the coach link we need to connect and our actuator. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go under there, get them all in place because it's very, very tight, and then we'll come back and I'll show you where we put them. So here in our footwell, we'll go up in and underneath. You'll see that we have our actuator bolted to the side of our brake pedal. And you'll want the cable to be a straight line pull to the firewall. You may have to push the brake pedal a couple times to practice, make sure that you don't have a large swoop in the pedal. If you do, you might have to make a few adjustments. But we mounted it up to our brake pedal, and then we mounted our coach link receiver, actually the transmitter. We mounted it right behind our carpet next to our gas pedal. I just tied it off to some existing wiring with some zip ties. And then as far as wiring everything up, you're going to want to take the red wire from our transmitter, which is the silver box there, and you're going to want to tie it to the blue wire on the brake actuator. Then you'll take the white wire from the transmitter and ground it. I just grounded it next to the firewall, or in the firewall next to where we attached our cable. And then you'll take the brown wire coming from our actuator and tie it into the brown wire that we ran from our 12-volt source. Now the last thing we need to do before we go test out our system is connect our positive ring terminal with our fuse holder in it. You want to make sure the fuse is out. We'll take this access point right here. We'll take the nut off of it. Slide our ring terminal over it. Then put it back on. Down. Now we'll take our fuse and put it in place. Now in order to test out our system, we're going to take our vehicle outside and connect it up to our motorhome. So now we've got our car out here hooked up to our motorhome. We've just got the air umbilical connected to our motorhome. You got to turn it on, let it charge up with air, and then maybe pump the brakes a couple times to get the system itself charged up. But what we can do now is we'll go inside our vehicle and make sure that our cylinder is working properly. Now we're going to pull the emergency brake away, and you'll see that our brake pedal is being depressed. Now in addition to testing out your system, you'll also want to make sure that your coach link is working properly. So we'll just hit the brakes, and what we want to see here is 3 red lights pop up. Now that we've tested everything out and we know that it's all working properly, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Demco Air Force One braking system on our 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee.